Good evening and welcome to the News Roundup for Tuesday, February 14. I am Abigail Smythe. Among the stories in this evening's newscast, the Finance Minister tables historic budget in Parliament, National Water Commission implementing water supply restrictions in the corporate area, Director of Public Prosecutions to appeal 4-year sentence handed down to a man for illegal possession of firearm, government to introduce long-awaited legislative measure dealing with unexplained wealth, female police constable charged in connection with incident in which a female motorist was allegedly robbed and sexually assaulted by a police in St. Elizabeth. In business, Jamaica's creative sector generates over $2 billion. In the region, Trinidad and Tobago says it is prepared to assist CARICOM countries to further develop their oil and gas industries. Further overseas, former South Carolina Governor and United Nations Ambassador Nikki Haley announces candidacy for U.S. President. And in sports, West Indies beat Zimbabwe in 2-match series.
Teach them! Always make sure the message reach them!
Now for the news in detail. Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark tabled a $1 trillion estimates of expenditure on Tuesday. The estimates of expenditure for the financial year 2023 to 2024 is $1,021,672,645,000. This is the first time in the country's history that the budget has exceeded that mark. The single largest line item is the payment of public sector wages, which will include nearly $100 billion more due to the public sector restructuring. And we have an update regarding the death of the police officer on Monday. District Constable Mark Forsyth was shot and killed in York District, St. Thomas. The 37-year-old policeman was assigned to the Trinityville Police Station in St. Thomas. According to the police, at about 3:40 Monday afternoon, DC Forsyth was alerted by residents that strange men were in the community. He reportedly summoned assistance from colleagues while he responded. Gunmen attacked the constable, shooting him several times. The assailants also opened fire on citizens who tried to assist the injured officer. The St. Thomas police say a suspect has been identified. The police high command says the JCF's chaplaincy branch and welfare department are providing support to the family members, colleagues, and friends of the district constable. Meanwhile, the authorities are asking anyone with information that may assist the police in solving the murder to contact the Major Investigations Division at 876-758-5048, the police 119 emergency number, or Crime Stop at 311. A 25-year-old man, Gianni Brown, of West 3rd Street, Greater Portmore, St. Catherine, was shot and killed by unknown assailants on Constant Spring Road on Monday. Reports from the Halfway Tree Police are that about 7:30 p.m., citizens heard explosions and summoned the police. Several teams responded. Brown was seen lying on the ground with gunshot wounds. He was taken to hospital where he was pronounced dead. The police say investigations are ongoing. A garage operator was chopped to death at the People's Choice Plaza on Jarrett Street, Montego Bay on Tuesday. The garage operator, who is known around the Second City as Dappa, reportedly went to an apartment located on the plaza about 1:30 a.m. The police say a male occupant at the plaza gave a report that he and other family members were at home when an unidentified male tried to break into the dwelling. The apartment owner further stated that he armed himself with a machete and chopped the alleged intruder multiple times. He died on the spot. Residents say the garage operator had gone to the premises to visit a woman with whom he had a relationship. The Barnett Street Police are investigating the incident. Police are investigating the death of a man who is reported to have accidentally ingested poisonous chemicals on Monday. He is a 52-year-old Gary Grindley, a farmer of Mountainside in St. Elizabeth. Reports are that Grindley was on his farm in Hounslow District when he mistakenly drank a mixture of herbicides, thinking it was fruit juice. It is understood that Grindley immediately realized his mistake and ran to an adjoining farm for help. He was then rushed to the Black River Hospital where he was admitted. He was later transferred to the University Hospital of the West Indies where he died. Gary Grindley is the brother of Floyd Grindley, former general manager of the state-owned oil refinery Petrojam. A female police constable has been charged in connection with the incident in which a female motorist was allegedly robbed and sexually assaulted by a police constable in St. Elizabeth 2 weeks ago. Constable Laverne Hendricks was charged Monday afternoon with the offense of attempting to pervert the course of justice and misconduct in a public office. The motorist made a report to woman Constable Hendricks, who was on duty. However, Hendricks told the woman to lie in exchange for money, obstructing the course of justice. The woman constable also gave a false statement to colleagues who had subsequently launched an investigation. She remains in custody and is booked to appear in court on Wednesday. Constable Alwyn Hill, who is accused of assaulting the female motorist, appeared before the Home Circuit Court last week and was remanded until June 14 for a bail hearing. He was previously charged with rape, grievous sexual assault, forcible abduction, corruptly soliciting, and simple larceny regarding the incident. He allegedly solicited money in exchange for not prosecuting the female motorist. She was taken to an automated teller machine, ATM, and was subsequently sexually assaulted. 3 other policemen who were detained in the case were questioned and released. The Director of Public Prosecutions, DPP, is to appeal the 4-year sentence handed down to a man for illegal possession of a firearm. The man, Dennis Mundell, was indicted under the wrong section of the new law, which came into effect on November 1, 2022, resulting in him being sentenced to 4 years and 3 months after he pleaded guilty to illegal possession of a firearm. Concerns were raised over the perceived light sentence handed down to Mundell in light of the mandatory minimum 15 years for illegal possession of firearm under the new Firearms Act. DPP Paula Llewellyn says Mundell was indicted under the wrong section of the Act. He was indicted under Section 45 instead of Section 5, which speaks specifically to the possession of an illegal firearm and carries with it the mandatory minimum sentence. She says upon further consultation and review of the Act and the specific facts of the case, her office has formed the considered view that the interest of justice may be best served if a review and appeal of the sentence is pursued in the Court of Appeal. She adds that her office will take the appropriate administrative steps within the course of this week to file the relevant appeal so the Court of Appeal can determine the appropriateness of the sentence after having reviewed the provisions of the Firearms Act. The government has announced its intention to amend and update several pieces of legislation aimed at strengthening the country's national security architecture. Governor General Sir Patrick Allen made the announcement on Tuesday, stating that in the coming parliamentary year, the government will introduce the long-awaited legislative measure dealing with unexplained wealth to fulfill a commitment made to the country some 3 years ago. At the time, Prime Minister Andrew Holness signed a memorandum of understanding with the opposition, private sector, and civil society to enforce legislation for the confiscation of unexplained wealth. Other priorities for the government in the upcoming legislative year include amendments to the Minimum Wage Act, National Minimum Wage Order and Employment Agencies Regulation Act, the Occupational Safety and Health Bill, and Employment Agencies Regulation Act. The National Water Commission, NWC, says it will be implementing supply restrictions in the corporate area over the next 24 hours in order to slow the fall in water levels at the 2 main catchment facilities. Locations below the Ministry of Justice on Constant Spring Road in St. Andrew will be receiving water from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. daily, while those above that location will be served overnight. The reduction in water levels is due to a dry spell affecting sections of the island. The Hermitage Dam is at 63% of capacity and the Mona Reservoir is at 76%. According to the acting corporate public relations manager at the NWC, Delano Williams, there has been a sharp dip in water levels at the 2 main corporate area facilities. Mr. Williams says while water levels are not at a critical stage, the adjustment is necessary to ensure supply over the next few months. He is encouraging residents of the corporate area to prepare for the disruption in supply. In business news, Jamaica's creative sector generated approximately $2.2 billion in earnings last year. Minister of Culture and Entertainment Olivia Grange made the announcement while speaking during the second staging of the Jamaica Creative Career Expo recently. Ms. Grange said the sector accounted for 5.2% of Jamaica's gross domestic product and 3% of direct and indirect employment. In the region, the Trinidad and Tobago government says it is prepared to assist Caribbean community, CARICOM countries, further develop their oil and gas industries and has taken a deliberate policy to engage its regional neighbors in the development of economic cooperation in the energy sector. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley says crude oil, which was once seen as being at the margins of the region, has become a focal point with major discoveries in Guyana, Suriname, French Guiana, Belize, and Trinidad and Tobago. He states that beyond this, there is a huge interest by major oil and gas companies prospecting off the coasts of Barbados, Grenada, Bahamas, Cuba, Jamaica, and the Dominican Republic. Rowley says exploration success by new Caribbean entrants in the petroleum industry can be a game changer for the Caribbean region. On the international scene, former South Carolina Governor and United Nations Ambassador Nikki Haley announced her candidacy for president on Tuesday. She becomes the first major challenger to former President Donald Trump for the 2024 Republican nomination. The ex-Trump cabinet official said 2 years ago that she wouldn't challenge her former boss for the White House in 2024. However, she changed her mind in recent months, citing, among other things, the country's economic troubles and the need for generational change, a nod to the 76-year-old Trump's age. Haley, who is 51 years old, is the first in a long line of Republicans who are expected to launch 2024 campaigns in the coming months. Among them are Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, former Vice President Mike Pence, former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, and Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina. President Joe Biden has said he intends to seek re-election in 2024. If elected, Nikki Haley would be the nation's first female president and the first U.S. president of Indian descent. And finally, in sports, Humble Lion copped a 2-1 win over Dunbeholden FC in their Jamaica Premier League second-round game on Monday. Humble Lion now move into 4th place with 24 points, while Dunbeholden FC are in 6th place with 19 points. In the first game of the doubleheader, 10-man Vere United and Tivoli Gardens played out to a 0-0 draw. And in cricket, West Indies beat Zimbabwe by an innings and 4 runs in the second test on Tuesday to win the 2-match series 1-0. Gudakesh Motti took 13 wickets. Motti followed his 7 for 37 in the first innings with 6 for 62 as Zimbabwe slipped to 173 all-out in their second innings. A West Indies innings that spanned 3 days, partly due to rain delays, ended quickly on Tuesday when they lost their 2 final wickets for 2 runs, bowled out for 292, a lead of 177. And that's it for your news roundup for today. I am Abigail Smythe. Have a good evening and see you next time.
Teach them! Hey, yo, hello! Send the message and make it reach them. It's teach them. Right here, Warlord representing.
Thank you for watching. Like the video before you go. Please subscribe if you haven't done so. And remember to share the video with your friends and family. And browse the channel for more quality content. Until next time, walk good, my friends.
Teach them!